Predict the likes of jobs and crime, that they would be the big issues in the general election campaign. But what about the future of Newcastle United? Unlikely as it seems, the fate of the club has become an election talking point. The Club Supporters Trust want to know what politicians could do to help them take over at St James's Park. And as our political editor Richard Moss reports, fan power could be crucial.
4 Newcastle fans on a pub crawl. But this is about politics, not pints. They're meeting the city's aspiring MPs. Which one of them might help them realise their dream of owning the club? First up, it's the Newcastle Arms and the Liberal Democrats.
Well, as you know, the City Council has already passed a motion supporting your aims and would very much like to see a takeover of the club by supporters and the club run by supporters.
A good start then. But there's a problem. The Lib Dems national sports spokesman has said that the idea of fans owning clubs is just a pipe dream.
When we're hearing diametrically opposite things from a local candidate and a national spokesman, it just fills me full of the same kind of cynicism that we've experienced with politics over the last, 40 years.
If you want to try and persuade us to put a motion to our next conference to say that we would support the takeover of clubs, our national spokesman will not be able to veto that in any way. And we'll have to try and persuade him that it's the right answer.
Next stop is the Strawberry, and under the microscope this time, Labour.
There's always been a deep sense of commitment and actually ownership, belonging from the fans. But that sense of commitment hasn't actually been reflected in the ownership structure of the teams. And that's certainly something that I'd want to help change.
If you want to know why this might be an important issue at this election, just take a look at the majorities in the 3 Newcastle seats. The Newcastle North majority, 6,878. Newcastle East, 6,987. Newcastle Central, 7,509. And the membership of the Supporters Trust, 30,000. And that's more than enough to decide this election. And Labour has promised to help Trust buy a stake in their clubs. But hang on, Bill is on the ball.
We've had 13 years of a Labour government, the first part of which was run by Tony Blair, who famously sat on the terrace in the Gallagher end, which is 50 yards away from us. And yet we've seen very little action.
We wanted to leave it to the fans and to the clubs, and we've seen now that really wasn't good enough. Now we've recognised that we can do something positive.
Our final stop is the Adelphi. It's time for the Conservatives to woo our fans.
I think it's really important that supporters have a chance to run their own football clubs. I mean, we see it, don't we? We see it with Barcelona, and we see that obviously they've got over 155,000 members, and they're one of the most successful clubs in the world.
And the Tories are promising to give supporters the first opportunity to own any club that goes into liquidation. But words, of course, are cheap.
We don't just need lip service, we need something that's actually concrete.
I'm really interested in the fact that Labour started talking about it 3 weeks ago, because we've been talking about it for months now. I'll definitely fight for the cause of Newcastle United with the team in Westminster, and I'm sure that if the Conservatives are elected to government, we will do what we say.
So with our pub crawl done, it's time for some post-match analysis.
We've heard a lot from them tonight, and let's see what happens.
We have to keep applying the pressure as subtly and politely as we can.
All 3 parties have said that this is a good idea. We know it's a good idea, and I think we can hold them to account, whoever gets elected.
But how might Newcastle supporters vote? You'll have to wait till the final whistle blows on May the 6th. Richard Moss, BBC Look North, Newcastle.